All right, guys and girls, people and friends, going to be starting a new chat with um, a lady from Northern California. So just getting things set up. I'll pause this and be back with you shortly.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm clean.
Clean, that's good. Have you
I
washed your
know.
bottom?
I did. I did it. I do it.
Have you cleaned behind your ears, dear?
I love it when I do that. I'm so smart.
You don't know how smart you are. You take it all for granted, you see.
I no, I really don't because I feel it's been a lonely journey at times. I get that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your hair looks beautiful, by the way. What are you doing?
I was a hairdresser, so I cut it. It needs a little fine tuning, so I'm feeling like I could have started earlier to get a little more together, but I didn't.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
are you going to speak to me whilst you're standing up, or are you going to sit down?
I'm gonna sit down. Here's my dog, Harmony.
Hello,
Hello.
Labrador. How are you doing?
Hello. Yeah, I don't know. She does look like a lab, and yeah, I'm gonna sit down over here. Oh my gosh, it's a beautiful day here in California.
Yeah, well, it
Yeah.
looks it. So, I'm very envious of
Hmm.
the Californian weather.
I
Um,
know.
but I do like the seasons. I do like a bit of frost and a windstorm and some hail and snow.
Yes.
Those things you never get really to experience, do you? There,
Well, we could drive right up the hill if we want to get into the snow and such.
right?
And it's not too far from us. Yeah, and my grandparents lived in Minnesota, and so I would go there and I get up into Canada, and so my eyeballs were cold at times, and I didn't care for it really.
Right.
It's so
Well,
cold.
yeah, that I mean, there was a certain artist who said that youth is wasted on the young, and so um, we don't really appreciate lots of the things when we're younger.
Right,
The genius of the body when we're young and youthful
right,
it's
yes,
wasted on the young because they're not in a level of appreciation. If only we could have that level of physical fitness and well-being when we're 50 years old, you know?
yeah, yes. I'm
Yeah.
working on that. I'm gonna keep working on. Well, it gives me something not to give up on myself. I've come to a point where um I wanted to just sit and meditate and just be um know the beauty of this world there can be, and
Yeah.
I know there's a dark. I've been through many experiences what beyond belief. People couldn't even believe me, like they were going to vote for somebody in an election, and I knew I was heading home to fight Satan or something strange that people just couldn't comprehend.
Right.
Couldn't comprehend.
Well,
So I knew that I had a different, and I loved everyone when I was young. It was the strangest thing. Not that I wouldn't um, stand up for myself because people may be talking or doing something, talking about me like, they wanted to think they knew me or they fell in love with me because of whatever their idea was.
yeah.
Um, but I had to know myself. And I knew that we were one. There's a oneness to us, but yet I knew we were very separate and different.
Yes, it's quite a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, gosh, yes.
So I'd love to hear some of your outlandish experiences as we make our way through this or another conversation. But let's just start briefly with a bit of a background. So, how long have you been watching the awesome Away from Rick and Brave
Mhm.
channel?
It's been a while. I try gosh, maybe a couple years now, a couple years off and on. I'm not into my devices too much. I will leave my phone behind. I
Good
try not to be
idea.
too attached to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And but I do appreciate your content. Yeah, so it's been a very good fun and I could feel your desire for people, like, let's get with the program, folks.
Yeah, for goodness sakes, it's 2025. What on earth have we been doing? Jesus came to give the word 2,000 years ago, and we still haven't got it.
Right.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Yes, there's so much to speak about, and I deeply appreciate you making the effort, Mandy, because I love to hear some of my viewers' perspectives on things.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I can do nothing except have belligerent, demeaning rants. And I think I'm kind of excused for doing that if I don't ever get any human beings coming forward
Right.
or at least, attempting to explain their difficulties in the comments. By
Yeah.
keeping stum just isn't going to get you anywhere in 2025, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Except locked up and bullied and manipulated. That's what keeping stum's going to do for the masses. Only if they, could learn a thing or two.
Well, I feel like, yeah, I agree with that for sure. I still love people that they fall short. I find that people fall short, and so, um, and I want to love them anyway. I want to, but I don't need to be with them and, being abused by them, or because I have been, this last year, I think I've learned about myself so much, and every year I've always wanted to be better at
Yeah.
who I am with others too. And then I would, yeah, like, go to my grandkids' football games, and oh my God, I hate football.
Mm.
It's very violent. But I would go just to pray and support, and, um, just to do what they're doing, and do
Yeah,
it the other
just to
folks.
be there because they enjoy you being there, and
Yeah.
even if you don't enjoy it. Can I ask you, would it be an issue if you could turn your phone round to landscape, because that would give a much broader perspective? That's it. That increases your picture, what I and the viewer,
Okay.
by 5 times. So
Oh, I
now,
see you better too.
yeah,
Gmail would
brilliant.
like to access your.
So I've
So,
lost you now.
it's
I've lost
okay.
you now.
Wait a minute. Allow. I'm gonna go there. Got.
That's it.
There you
That's it.
are.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh my gosh. Yes, I could have been a little more fabulous, but I'm good.
You could have looked a little bit more fabulous. Listen, trust me, you couldn't. You look absolutely fabulous. So
Aw.
you're doing great. So you have a jovial, pleasant disposition. You don't look
Mhm.
like you are too embittered
No.
by life, and so you
No.
seem to be fairing up, amongst all the evil. So that's a good thing.
Yes, I feel that. Even for a while, or on and off, I will say, people will say, "How are you?" And I would say, "Better than most." And I knew
Hmm.
that wasn't my ego, but it felt true. Knowing and knowing, and then so I had to, figure out, do I want to just, people have a lot of, diplomas on the wall, like
Yeah.
the folks in that office that you're chatting with. And I've, definitely been there to deal with people and maneuver that's like,
Yeah.
anyway, but those diplomas on the wall really don't mean anything. It's our connection.
Yeah. And what this series is going to reveal is
Mm.
precisely that those diplomas do not mean anything, because these people haven't got a clue. And all they are is servants for the
Yeah.
pharmaceutical companies and
Yes.
government agencies, and
Yes.
so they're given what they consider some level of prestige with the PhD certificate, and then they assume that that puts them in good stead in a knowledgeable arena. But the simple fact is, there's been many surveys conducted in relation to psychiatry, and one
Mhm.
question's been posed to all of
Mhm.
them. And the question is, have you ever cured anyone? And every single psychiatrist has had to answer no. Because there is
Mhm.
no cure that
Right.
they can administer. And so, therefore, then all they do is try to mask your symptoms with their drugs. That's what a
Mhm.
psychiatrist does. A
Mhm. Mhm.
psychologist will try to reveal some of the things that you haven't maybe thought about and resolved. And then you are left to your own devices to do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to be dealing more with the psychiatrist and with the psychologist and with the institution in general. And I'm
Mhm.
going to be presenting to them that it's 2025 now, and it's about time that they came into the 21st century and
Mhm.
started to include some sort of skill in relation to the spiritual awakening, because they better watch out, because many people are going to be presenting themselves to those institutions with symptoms what I've been speaking about.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. I was yes, there are they need help. They
They
need the
need
help.
help.
They do.
That's the irony of it. They need help. Damn it! I'm trying to help them. Mandy, I'm telling you, I'm so gracious. All my time and effort is going into helping them,
It's true.
as well as making piss-taking videos for my viewers.
I love that you videotaped it. That was so good. I was like, "Oh boy."
I've videotaped every session. There'd been 14 sessions, and they're all on this
Oh,
channel. They're in the playlist, and so if you ever,
okay.
feel like when you're out walking, you want to listen to a psychological
Mhm.
battle going on, and you can just pick one of those sessions. So, what I like to ask my viewers is to get a bit of an insight into where they're coming from. Is what attracted you to the channel? What was the first video that you clicked on? Do you remember?
Oh gosh. Well, I sure liked I love it with the squirrels. I can't think of your first
Providence.
squirrel.
Providence.
Providence. I loved that. And I don't think that was the first though. I feel like I followed you from one prior to that. Um, but the love you show and I can feel from you to love this little creature and this
Yeah,
little soul. That
yeah.
was very my grandfather was very kind and squirrels would come to him, and so it felt very like coming home a
Mm,
bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very, very beautiful thing, and it's a bizarre thing. Um, the very strange way in which both of these squirrels came to me and
Mhm.
felt absolutely comfortable with me from the very, very get go.
Mhm.
And I think that's quite a phenomenon, because uh, I know that squirrels do have a propensity all over the world to look for a human being whenever they have been estranged from mum.
Mm.
They make a beeline
Mhm.
for the human, because somewhere, somehow, in their genetic makeup, they know that the human being is their best option.
Yeah.
And invariably it is. I mean, what's the worst a human being will do if they see a baby critter? Well, they'll leave it alone, walk away from it. But
Mhm.
lots of people, I think, will take pity, compassion, and try to help and do something. And with a little bit of research, then it's not too difficult to work out how to care for them.
Mhm.
And then they become beautiful companions,
Mhm.
as you no doubt would have realized from the videos, and they're a
Yes.
friend for life. It's a beautiful thing. So, okay, you've seen that facet, but you won't see me exhibiting compassion in any other realm. So, do you not consider that there's a great contrast there? And were you not disappointed
Mhm.
when you heard me spitting vitriol against my fellow man?
I am, let's see how I feel. I am thankful you can express yourself, and I don't know, the word degradation is coming up. Degradation.
Right.
Uh, that it is, we fellow humans can be so disappointing. So
Mm,
disappointing. And I knew as a young woman myself, when I was young, and I felt like I was here and I could, you know, behead some bonehead that didn't have the capacity, maybe the capacity to first love and figure out
yeah.
themselves. You usually himself, I would say, in my lifetime. But I feel like I had taught people along the way to know who they are a bit, and it was not an easy task because there's some thickness to them.
Well, I mean, like I'm often speaking about, it's a narrow, a conscious arena that they're in. They
Mhm.
are bound within the egoic state of consciousness.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very bizarre thing that it actually is an invisible prison. They
Yes.
are
Yeah.
imprisoned. They are
Yeah.
mentally imprisoned and
Yeah.
constrained, and
Yeah.
it's not just an aspect of whether they're free or not. It's an
Mhm.
aspect of whether they realize that they are God or not. And
Mhm.
that's the big difference. And, you
Mhm.
know, they will all scoff at the notion of that because their minuscule state of consciousness has only been told that God's in the clouds and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And most of them have dismissed that. And if they haven't dismissed it, then they've clung to an idea which they can't explain, they can't express. And if you ask them to exhibit reasons why they are having an adherence or belief to that, they couldn't do
Mhm.
it because if they tried, then all they would do ultimately is reveal their indoctrination. And they'll be absolutely embarrassed about that because that's all
Mhm.
it is. It's
Yeah.
been something which is indoctrinated to them as a young, um, um, open, writable, programmable mind. And that's
Right.
what happened, but they don't know that that's happened to them. And so
Mhm.
it really is a travesty
Yeah.
that the vast majority of human being will never wake up. And
They
it just
got they've you don't think so? You don't think the vast majority how about any at all?
well, yeah, any at all. The thing is, I don't know whether you saw the conversation with myself and Nikki that we had last night.
Yes, I did a bit, and then I fell asleep to you 2 talking, and I didn't necessarily grasp everything, but I would
Right.
yes.
Well, it
Mhm.
was a very nice conversation. We spoke about lots of important things, and so I would recommend anyone watching this video to go back and watch that. And I realise you've been
Mhm.
inundated today. I've just banged up another 5 videos, and very quickly, you know, we move on because we get overwhelmed. But I would recommend that you do go back if you've got a couple of
Mhm.
hours. Watch that one, even if you watch it on times two. I watch most of my videos on times two. You know,
What's
so I
that?
you
Fast?
yeah, you fast
You did that.
you on the
Okay.
fast forward thing, and
Okay.
so I watch videos twice as fast because I'm absorbing and I
Yeah.
don't need the pauses. I'm not relishing and hanging on every word. I just want the information, you know, because
Mhm.
I've always got an enormous amount of stuff to watch, and so that's what I do. And it's like some people they speed read, but yeah, we were speaking about the incredible difference of those that do wake up and those that don't. And
Mm.
those that don't, they've got no idea what
Mhm.
it is for those that do. And
Mhm.
so it's significant to notice again that the video
Mhm.
I put out today, which was the first one, it started off speaking about Gifty and her family, and we're feeding, and they're all coming close, and it's great. Then I go through into my secret garden, and I'm speaking about what it is to actually be spiritually awoken, and
Mhm.
how we see the world, and
Mhm.
that's got no interest. There's no interest on that video.
Mhm.
There's hardly any comments, and
It I'm gonna say it didn't come up in the algorithm for me.
right in
It
your
did.
feed,
Yes, that one
right.
didn't, but the other 2 in the yeah.
Well, you could
And like
always
I s
click on one of those
I'll
videos,
look. Yeah.
go onto the
Mhm.
channel and see, in chronological order what I've done. But what I'm saying is that it's astounding to me. I've been doing this for many years now, and I've always been speaking about this spiritual awakening, and
Mhm.
I can't grasp how I have so very very few people who even have the inclination to be spiritually inclined or pursue the path of awakening. Nobody ever says how do you do it, or what do you recommend, or they have some
Mhm.
basic idea that it's handy to take entheogens and to meditate and to free yourself from slavery, so you've got time for contemplation, to read, and all that sort of thing. But people aren't interested now. However, then when I put up the videos about something that they, as egoic minds, can grasp, oh
Mhm.
well, the light flies on shit. And okay, look, that's perfectly reasonable, because the nature of the awakening is only given to an exceptionally few. And so the vast majority are always going to be egoic consciousness. And
Mhm.
so maybe it's high time that I gave up on the masses and just continued with the
Mhm.
egoic bullshit, because that's all they enjoy and respond to. What do you think about that?
No, don't, please don't. Please don't give up on the they we I think we all really need that voice. I feel like you were one of the first people that I did start to even interact with online, because it felt like, okay, you would like something, so I'll even just send you a little heart. I have my face up and I have my little um just a little, I don't want to spend a lot of time there. I have
Yeah,
things to do in the real world for me too, that I
yeah,
want to do. And but I do believe that the people, they need, like, it's almost like giving forgiveness. For me, it's been forgiveness to the others.
mhm,
And I always like that, there by the grace of God go I. Like, if I am that inept on some strange level, that
yeah.
I'm a facet of God, and that I need to be a smile. I can give somebody a smile, and it might wake them up a little, and I can receive a good thing from that smile as well. That the reciprocation, if someone's capable.
Yes. So, on what level of being awoke would you consider you are? Having listened
Mhm.
to lots of my videos, speaking about the varying levels and how I perceive the world, um, do you relate completely to that, or are you kind of like partially there, or is that just words to you? Um, how would you describe your awoken consciousness?
Well, I do. Your conversation yesterday with the young lady, heard her saying about. I agree that from the beginning I have been awoke, or,
Mm,
awakened
right.
or awoken. I feel like, even though I can't always articulate it for others, I can assess my own abilities and that kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
think I've been one of the few people, and I love the truth. I notice people, not that I didn't tell little white lies here and there, or a actual lie on occasion, who knows, but I do. But anyway, so it's, I feel like I've been awake and like aware differently, because I could, and maybe that I don't like labels, but I feel like whatever, ADHD or autism, or I feel like there's a spectrum of our brain and our awareness that is, I've just been aware. I know what people are thinking. I know what their intention is. I have an odd way, maybe to stare at someone, as, and I can, it's almost like I'm like giving them the up and down, so I can feel where they're coming from, their intentions.
Right. Now, I was
Mhm.
just watching a short video that someone sent me, one of my friends and viewers, and it was about a new technology which has been introduced by the Chinese. where it's
Mm,
reading the faces of human beings, and it can
mm,
tell with great
mhm,
certainty whether they are homosexual or straight, whether they have criminal tendencies, and this, that, and the other. And albeit this
mm,
level of insight in technology isn't anything new, because people have been doing it
mm,
with phrenology, the shape of the skull and the shape of the face,
mm,
and then psychoanalysts be able to tell different features of the face, and so that's been around for a long time. And what people have always known is they've always had their sixth sense. And if you got a lineup of people and you ask which
mhm,
ones are the criminals, then our instincts, our intuition, kind of like have a very good idea, and we're not too far, from the mark on lots of occasions. And so I would think that we would
mhm,
definitely be sort of like 70% right and maybe 30% wrong. So we can already do that. So people such as yourself, you
mhm.
have a heightened state of intuition and perception and open consciousness. So you can perceive things like that on that level. And the only difference is with the AI model, it measures everything precisely and it computes everything, and it profiles people. It's a bit like the Minority Report, that sort of thing, because what it's doing is it's going to be profiling the potential of human beings from the cradle to the grave.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure that there'll be databases with the ongoing photos of their maturing faces, and there will be a number allocated to them, which is an indication of their criminality or their criminal
Mm.
propensity, and all these sorts of things. So this is where AI is going. But getting back then to how you've perceived the world, what about perceiving the natural environment? Do you feel any sense of God? When you look at the natural world with the light and beads of rain and all these sorts of things.
Yeah. Well, I knew was different when I was young, because instead of wanting to go to a mall um, and my grandparents had beautiful garden and a pond and fit, and so there was a place to play in just nature and the beauty of the is given to us by the great, grace from above. So I love all the flowers and I just love nature. I love the dewdrops, and that's what I begin my day with every day.
Right.
Just and the leaves on the ground and to shuffle through. I never wanted to go to the mall necessarily. I wanted to go to the beautiful park, a big. There's a gorgeous park over across in Chico, and it's gorgeous. And I'm willing to hike and feel the sunshine and the breeze. I like that. That's me. That's who I am. My bike. I like to bike ride and
Right, so a nature lover at heart, and so you have an affinity, with the outdoors and that sort of thing.
Mhm,
So when I speak about certain
mhm.
facets of what I'm perceiving, does that sound like woo-woo to you, or do you
No,
get that
no,
on some
no.
level, or
I think the trees. We can talk to. I feel like God is there. We are. That's our. For people, that is their. If they can get into nature and get themselves grounded in. I wear my earthing shoes. I ground in every. I'm barefoot most of the time.
right,
Um, I need that too because also astrology wise, I'm a triple air. So I'm a lot of. I can be in my head so much, and I'd prefer not to be. I don't want to. I don't have the time to be there and judge others in any in any way. I don't want to do that. So I used to do that because it was so easy just to go, oh my gosh, and roll my eyes and but I don't. I'm just going to give them some grace and let them be, and maybe not see them as broken. I like to shift. I have shifted my, you know, perception of others and just to see them as not broken and not, we've all come here we've forgotten things, right? Come here to forget. And then now it's time to remember, time to remember who we are, and we're love. We're really, I feel like that's the, and it's not necessarily easy to, emit that. I mean, that's what we do emit is love. And it first begins with ourself, right?
Right.
I feel,
Um,
yeah.
okay, so we emit love. Um,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I suppose that's down to perception because, uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I would look for the grounds of that, and when I'm meeting people on a daily basis, I wouldn't say that there's any love being emitted. I would say that people are boringly plodding through their lives, and they exhibit a level of socially accepted courtesy, and other than that, they don't give too much
Mm.
away. I don't live in a fantasy world. I'm
Right.
living in the reality as I see it, and I'm
Mm-mm.
very skeptical about this all love business, because to actually love
Mm.
another human being, especially a stranger, I think it's an impossibility.
You think so? I don't. I'm going to disagree. I disagree. I consciously disagree.
Right.
Yeah. I feel
So
like we can make it a love story. Hmm. I feel like that's been my experience. If I expect the highest consciousness of another as I step out into the world, and I want everyone to be on their highest conscious level that they can, I prefer that. And then I'll bring in my highest consciousness as I receive them as I can. And
well,
maybe that's just been my
yeah.
perception.
Yes, yes. I was going to say because if you go out
Mhm.
and if you are projecting love onto the world, well, that's all you see,
Mhm.
and so
Right. And that's
it's
what I
kind
get back.
it's kind of like wearing rose tinted glasses, isn't it?
I would love that. I could do that.
Listen, there's a problem with the picture. It's gone all blurred. It was perfect to
Okay.
start.
Let me
I wonder if there's any
the
area you
sun
can move.
is the sun
Nothing
is
to do with
let me
something
see.
to do with the reception. Um,
Oh.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's maybe a little bit better. So you're working on Wi-Fi.
Better.
Are
Let's
you working
see.
on Wi-Fi or are you working on data?
I think I'm on Wi-Fi. I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Maybe my data.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, yeah. If you go in the house, then let's just check what that's like. Maybe it
Okay, let
won't
me try.
show up as blurred on the actual recording. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just a visual effect because I'm not being fed. Um, but it looks
Okay. Let's see.
right.
Is
Yes,
that
that
any better in here?
yeah, that's much better. Albeit
Okay.
much more pleasant outside. The
It's so
pixelation,
pretty. Yeah.
yeah, the pixelation is better inside, unfortunately.
I can,
Um,
you can see my heater in the background. That's lovely.
I can see your what?
The heater, the
Oh,
old-fashioned
right. That's
heater.
comfy, is it? Yeah. Oh, okay. So the pixelation
Mhm.
isn't any better now. So you can actually go back outside again because it's a much more beautiful environment. Would you like to do
It
that? Go
didn't
back out
matter.
in
It
the
doesn't
sun?
matter.
Yeah,
I
go back
would.
out in
I'd
the sun.
rather be outside.
Yeah, it's much. I just thought I'd
Maybe
try
I'll
that.
go out. There's some two kitty cats. Hello,
Hey,
boys.
I love cats.
I do. They're both wild barn kitties, so that's who they
Wow.
are, and I love
Yeah,
them both. All right,
yeah,
so
brilliant.
all right, we'll come out here. It's so pretty.
Yeah, very nice there. So, okay, well, oh no, okay, Yeah, so what other facets then of the videos that I produce do you enjoy? Is it the realism? Is it um,
Mhm.
the variance of them? What actually is the facet that draws you? Because
I, I,
these
mhm.
videos are very much an acquired taste, aren't they?
I like the my brain can handle the shift in your gears for sure because you do vary things. I mean, you go from when you were talking about your book and that was coming about, you would go quite deep, and it was, I knew you were trying to help others, help people be awake more and aware. But then you go to your videos on, I love when you're cooking and you have in a Newcastle. And
Yeah.
I thought, oh, if I were to have a beer, that would be the one.
Right, yeah. Interesting. And
Mhm.
so, I'd love to be able to see humanity like you say you do. And one
Mhm.
of the reasons I went to see the therapist is that I said, look, I've had this spiritual awakening, and the spiritual awakening has expanded my consciousness, and now all human beings look like monkeys to me. And
I heard that.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like it's not the best position to be in, to be honest with you, because the vast majority of people you're ever going to encounter are monkey minds, and they just automaton, and they just talk shit. And if you slip into some sort of depth of conversation, they instantly feel afraid and think that you're weird, and most of them want to exit the conversation because it's kind of like, oh, that's deep, that is, and it's kind of like, wow. And I mentioned this in
Yeah.
my book. It was very disturbing to anybody that I should meet
Mhm.
to enter into a depth of conversation because they either felt intimidated, alienated, afraid, or something of this nature. And so, well, I went to see the therapist to see if by any stroke of genius I could have some sort of insight into how I could regain or maybe gain, I don't think I ever had it, a certain love for the human being. And it's quite a paradox because whenever I am engaging with humans on a day to day basis, I am the nicest guy anyone would ever meet. And if people only saw me, they'd go, what the fuck's going on? Because when he's in his videos, he's proclaiming that he hates the whole of humanity, and yet he's so cordial and fun and respectful when he engages with people. And that's quite a paradox for myself. And I don't know why I'm doing that, other than that is kind of real when I'm out in the street. And when I'm making videos, it's
Mhm.
not. And because I don't get any real human interaction back, then I just go into some sort of um, parody state of consciousness, and I'm just acting, and I'm just just playing around and just saying the most outlandish things I can because I can, and it doesn't matter what I ever say. It doesn't affect the ratings or the subscriptions or the comments. And I'm like, well, what does that say about the human being? I have to rest my case that at least on this level, on the internet level, everybody's dead. The vast majority of people are dead, and so I have to treat them like the fucking Walking Dead. So, what do you think about that?
Um, well, I feel like, uh, oh gosh, I feel like that I would say that I feel that maybe that's where a man and a woman, I mean, and this is just an idea that I have on occasion. I feel like there's so much power to the that the man, a man and a woman being supportive of a man, that I would believe if he's the best human, I can be the best, human as well, woman, and he's the best man. There's two genders. But I feel like there is something to be said for that in itself, as far as if just to be supportive, like yeah, I feel like that's something. I don't know why that came up, but I feel like you having, just even you in this conversation yesterday with the young woman, and she had just the flow of that conversation and back and forth, and actual conversation, and it's good to go deep. I personally prefer to go deep, and if someone does think I'm weird, I know weird means supernatural, and I would agree, and that's fine. But as far as you're just being this man that's entertaining and insightful, um it might be just too much. People aren't going to grasp what you're, the big picture with you. I feel maybe,
Yeah,
and then to have a, yeah, yeah, sorry,
no, you carry on.
just to have that balance of the man and the woman, that I feel like
Right. So
you at times just. Mhm. Go
are you
ahead.
saying that I would be more amiable, affable if I had a
Mhm.
relationship?
A relationship, that would probably be nice, but lovely. That would be lovely. But I even just on your channel, just to have like you viewing things and having feedback from a woman, maybe, maybe men. You have I've seen you with some men on there. Yeah, very intelligent folks. I mean, men and women. But I just feel like that would be a nice balance in this time now and ahead, to
Yeah.
have that.
Yes, I hear you on that, and I have, in the past often had female viewers conversing more than men, um, but the conversations kind of dried up in recent times. Maybe I weren't appealing to the viewers to engage, or I don't know. It's just a kind of flow of energy, but. I do think that a conversation with a woman offers the feminine perspective, and it's very important for a counterbalance. And a woman, would may feel more comfortable in offering me some sort of advice or correction or another perspective, whereas a man would probably feel more intimidated by that. And so yeah, I'm all open for that sort of thing. And I think that if I could convey all of my messages and so-called wisdom to receptive women, then the message would be received much better, because it could be questioned and maybe compromised at certain stages, and then I'd have the opportunity to explain in more detail what I wanted to convey and things like that. And so the conversation would be balanced for the male and female, and I don't know. It's including a greater facet of what it is to be human. So I'd like to do more of that, and I'm hoping to have more conversations with women, and I want to hear what you think about the world, what you think about love, what you think about my philosophy on love, what you think. It may sound egocentric to some viewers if I'm always trying to divert the conversation back to what I've said, but I'm legitimately interested in another perspective of what I say, because what I say to me is really poignant and important. And if I just say and nobody ever responds to it, then it has like a meaninglessness to it. So I want, someone, and ideally a female, to bring life to it.
Mhm. Well, and to be received, right? To be that receptacle of I hear you, what you're saying. Just like going into the counselors, um, I've done that in my lifetime, and I've tried to, or I did work things out to the ability that was available, and usually I ended up counseling them. Like I said, I think they need help usually, and so, or a vacation, or something, but. The part about receiving someone's input or output and that you're willing to go that deep is a lovely thing. It's very very wonderfully. I feel like you're not giving up. You're not giving up. You're sharing so much and being vulnerable. I've not been able to be quite vulnerable like that out into the world. I appreciate that. That's like, wow. Mhm.
It's amazing how little reception a human being, a fully fledged human being, actually gets. Because my subscription will level plane for months on end. There may be one additional subscriber or two in any given week, and then next week there'll be two or three lost, and then there'll be two more and one lost, and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, look, I mean, either the whole world isn't ready for being a real human being, or there's some
Mhm.
conspiratorial thing going on with the algorithms which suppress this level of humanism. You know, because the only things that go viral are the things that cause the greatest of conflict and generate money. And it's invariably politics. It's all he said this and she
Mhm.
said that, and how dare he say this, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all the vast majority of people are interested in. I want to know what you think.
Mhm.
I'm not interested in what you've got to
Mhm.
say about politics, because it's all just programmed that you exhibit in there. I want people just to sit down
Mhm.
and see if they can contemplate and see if they can speak from their core. But invariably, people can't. They don't want to do that. They're afraid of it. They don't have the skills and all that. And so I'm always
Mhm.
open to my viewers. If anyone on the world can do it, then surely my long-term viewers must be in with a chance.
Right.
So take it away, Nadia.
Yeah,
Give
it's a
it up.
lot. It's a well, I feel I've learned to be more vulnerable and feel myself, and I feel like I would like to be able to speak, and even I could sabotage myself. Like I couldn't have gotten myself as pretty as can be because I wanted to just show up, and I have other things I'm doing. I mean, I don't. This is I'm going different directions here, but to have somebody, it's very rare that people are available to go deep, and it is very rare. I've just come to, I think I've stifled myself a lot regarding others' ability. I can sense that it just is mind-boggling to them to go deep and to share their own perspective or any depth within them. It's a lot, and that saddens me really. So you and the podcast I like a lot. I like watching channelers. I watch some pretty bizarre stuff. I'm part of a group called One O, so one with ourselves. That's Circle and Dot. Cornelius Christopher. He's from New Zealand, and he's able to. I knew I was supposed to be part of that. It's very unusual and rare, and it's been a very slow process for him to grow the people, because it is that we're healing ourselves. We're giving that forgiveness. We're giving, releasing things, and his consciousness, as he has a book, and it was very trying at times to read. It was very challenging. Um, his life, and he was going to commit suicide, and he decided not to because of his beautiful wife was the only one who loved him. And then when he did that, he had an awakening, and it was very abrupt, and he was all about money and creating things as an architect, but now he is on a daily gathering with people from around the world. At times there's been 800 of us, but it'll go down to a few hundred. And people are trying, I feel like they're trying to realize it's within us um, to heal ourselves, to go deep and to be supportive of one another. Because it's been so vague out into the world that we've been living in. I've been very proud of people when they step up for one another during a disaster or something. I'm so thankful because I've stepped up my whole life to help others. And well, yeah, I preferred to go deep. I only knew how to do that very well.
Right. So
Yeah.
when you're speaking about this particular person, and you're speaking about healing, I've never managed to
Managed. Mhm.
I've never managed to get my head around what that actually means. What would you think that this whole healing business is all about?
Well, well, for me, it's meant that I'm not I don't have a pain body. My dry eyes have somehow, managed to go on. My if I've made a poor decision in my younger days, uh, or in any part of my lifetime, that I could forgive myself. Because at that time I made the right choice. It was the right choice at that time. Not, I don't want to carry these things around. What is that little parable of the two monks going across the river, and the woman needs to be carried across, and the old monk carries her, and then he sets her down, and later that day the young monk is so upset because he touched the woman, and then the old monk use on the go. What do
I
we
put
do
her
here? It
down
says
10 minutes
use
ago,
on.
but you're still carrying her.
Yes, yes. So it says something about you use on, yeah, and so putting things down, that's been a great thing. Something's come up on my phone. It's on the go.
Yes,
Huh.
it's not giving me your picture anymore. I don't know whether
Yeah.
it can't produce the signal too much. Um, but so that's
Do
okay.
I?
The picture was so bad
Okay.
in this case, I can hear you very clear now.
Okay.
So, okay, look, this
Okay.
whole healing thing, as far as I'm concerned, it's a new age thing, and I don't like it at all. It sounds vastly too effeminate and weak, and it's suggesting that we're all destroyed inside,
Yes,
and I
you're
don't like,
right.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like that because I don't consider
I.
that we
Uh,
should feel victimized by the world, you know?
right. Right, right. And I think you're correct. And to be very honest with you, a little while back, Cornelius did change up the program, right? He's redefining it, and he didn't want us to heal. So excuse me, but I was wrong there in the healing. But for me, that was what I felt is a lot of healing going on, but I'm not broken, and I don't need, I'm just catching up to my healthy divine self as I've been
Yeah.
divinely guided. Yes, yeah.
So other people, more masculine
Mhm.
people, like Tom Campbell, the NASA physicist, and I would say he's an intellectual on lots of levels. He would say we have to grow up. And I would much rather use the concept of growing up because when we grow up, we realize
Mhm,
that, hey,
mhm,
shit happens, deal with it. Stop feeling a victim, stop crying like
mhm, mhm.
pussies, and just fucking deal with it, you know. And so, if you want to go therapy to work out, better at, how to deal with your emotions and this and the other, fine. I think everyone should have a therapist because it's a
Yeah.
second opinion. I think second opinions are very
Mhm.
important because in view of
Yeah.
how insular society is, we can't find anyone to really speak to us on an intellectual level. Even when I go to a therapist, I can't find that. Can you imagine? And so I'm going so deep
Mhm.
into this bitches. You know, the psychiatrist and the psychologist and the whole institution. I'm going to lay it down before them. They haven't got a clue what they're doing, basically, and they're all bitches to the pharmaceutical companies. I'll tell them that in not so many words, of course. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that I'm very skeptical of is when people call themselves, crazy names like Cornelius. He sounds like one of these guys from the Planet of the Apes. Who's called Cornelius?
I loved Planet of the Apes so long ago, but Cornelius
I do
just
believe
was his
one of those
name.
monkeys was called Cornelius. I really do. And so if anyone
Yes,
says, "Oh, I'm
yes.
Cornelius Expostilius," I'm going to go, "Oh, fuck off."
That's so
I'm the
funny.
toothless awakened brave. Come and have a fucking chat with me. I'll put you right. There ain't no airs and graces
Right.
here, people. Yeah, so if you got someone calling them Cornelius and they're talking about healing, I'm repulsed already. But
He's
if it
not.
was
He's not. He like I said,
he
he
what?
lets. We talk to his. Pardon. Just the thing with him, it's a hard thing to describe because he talks to us about our own abilities with his consciousness talks to our consciousness, so it's beyond what people's scope is, and and he did change that, and I apologize because I was wrong in saying that it's about healing, because he had to shift that as well, because he feels we are not broken, we're just catching up to our whole self, we are whole already.
Right. Yeah.
So
So in
yeah.
that particular instant, then, with this dude, that's attracting people on that sort of a level, and I suppose he's telling everyone that they're all wonderful people. We're all perfect, and
No,
no.
no,
Well,
no,
what I want
he
to know
doesn't.
is what sort of people how does he draw 800 people in any given sitting? Because I'm telling you now, if you're telling people the truth, that you get about 8 people. So what's he
Well,
actually?
it has fluctuated, for sure. I feel like there's been a couple people who have promoted him that had a good following. Lady, she's lovely. Oh gosh, I can see her face. I can't think of her name right now. But she's promoted him. I first saw him on an astrology channel that the lady, she was promoting his unique abilities, and it's been difficult, and he will swear like a badger. He's not claiming to be any kind of healer. He says that we are doing it ourselves. I mean, you'd have to go on. You might enjoy him because he is kind of cheeky, for sure. Yeah, and he doesn't claim to be. He can just, like, I can see or feel people, and people are if they're sick. I mean, it's easy to see if people are ill or discomfort, there's discomfort in their bodies. So but he does it to another level of and I feel like I'm able to do that myself. Yeah, it is hard to describe, and just to catch up to our healthy self, and to talk to our bodies. Our bodies are listening to us, and to wake up happy is something I appreciate. And I've always been a more jovial, happy human, and that really did upset people. So,
Right.
and I knew that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that we really need someone to tell us how to be happy?
No, no.
So what's the attraction then? Why do these people seek out these people? Who they? Is it because some people just need a guru, and they like to tell people that they're going to see this healer, and he's really good because he can heal people and all this? Do they like to do that? Are they just these
Mm.
following sort of mortals that can't think for themselves and can't read a book for themselves? Who goes to these sort of places? What I'm asking you ultimately, Mandy, is what's the difference between those people that listen to him you're one of them, and you listen to me. So are we chalk and cheese, or are we pretty similar then? What's the deal? Why do you listen to me and listen to him when we may be very different?
I would say there's some similarities there, that you're very raw and real. He is. That's why he doesn't keep hold a big audience. And he has been, he agreed with, in his awakening, he had agreed one person at a time, that, and I really do believe that, because that's how I've got to operate on the planet, is I could help someone at a time, it felt like, besides my own self. But it's not very easy for him to hold the audience as well, and he
Right.
has gone from 800 to 300, and it barely fluctuates, and he's wanting to turn the planet around, as you waking us up, and just in a different manner, but yet very similar. You guys are not, you swear, you do your thing. It's very interesting. You'd have to actually watch him, or maybe, you know
Well,
and
yes.
he doesn't charge like.
Send me a link of one of his videos, and I will
Okay.
watch. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
the other thing is when you listen to me with my variety, I'm
Mhm.
not telling anybody that they are perfect and they're beautiful. Au contraire, I come at it from what I consider to be a unique perspective, because everybody else is all,
Mhm.
all all doing that stuff, and the last thing I want
Yeah.
to do is to be a copycat. And so I'm just telling it the way I
Mhm.
think it is, and I think the vast majority of
Mhm.
people are far from pure. We've got an enormous amount of work to do, and it's about time that we looked in the mirror and we did some self-reflection. And I start off like,
Mhm.
when you go to the toilet number 2, do you wash your ass after? It's just a simple thing, because if you don't, you're Neanderthal. To be honest with you, you're carrying that around with you
Yeah.
all day, sweating and all the rest of it. No,
Yeah.
it's not modern. It's not human. So if you're doing that, you're Neanderthal. By the way, have you got brown teeth? Well, fuck me. That's the beginning. That's the beginning of you having self-reflection. If you don't look in the mirror and ask
Mhm.
yourself what the fuck's going on with my teeth in 2025,
Mhm.
I don't know whether there's any hope for you. You know?
Mhm. Yes, I oh gosh, I don't even want to get started on that with the people and the teeth and the children. I am amazed at people who don't take care of their teeth, and that don't, like you say, as I've been a yoga teacher, and for a few years, since 2014, and off and on, and mostly on. And people need to wash their bottoms. I mean, twice might be a good idea.
So I tell you what, that might be my epitaph. On the write up in the local newspaper, the couple of days after I died, the local guru, wash your bottoms. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Oh my goodness, Mandy, this guy you're talking about, the Awake and Brave, he sounds so wise. Is there any other tales of wisdom that he's imparted to you over the years?
Don't eat the pork. Don't eat the pork out of the TGIF. I hear you. I hear
Mm, mm, mm.
you. Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
I think one of the ways in which I get my message over is outlandish humour, because the things I say are
Mm,
depicted in such an absurd way. People, they'll either laugh or cry, and if they
mm,
cry, they won't hang around too long, and so they just gotta laugh at the end of the day. Um, yeah, many a truth spoken in jest. That was, I think, something
mm,
that one of the Marx Brothers said. Many a true word spoken in jest. Um, yeah, and
mm,
so I endeavour to do all those things to entertain and educate and all the rest of it. And what do you feel in relation to the whole spiritual thing? Because I'm always saying, look, when we become spiritually
Mm,
awoken, it means that exactly
mhm,
that we are
mhm,
awoken to spirit. Now, I've spoken
mhm,
about elves and pixies and goblins and all these different sorts of things. And there are
mhm.
dimensions of consciousness where they exist and we can experience them.
Yes,
And all these people
yes.
that have been writing these fairy tales and this, that, and the other, it's not uh, entirely come out of the imagination. They've pulled this stuff from other dimensions of consciousness. And so, what do you feel about all that
Right.
stuff?
Mhm. I believe they're very real. I believe that's very real part of our world that we might not have access to, but I do feel that there is. I've heard there was one tribe called the Katumble, a woman. She came out of the corporate world, and she now channels these little people. It feels like they're from the islands, some island, maybe Hawaiian islands, but she channels these little and I totally believed her what she was saying, the goodness that they bring, and I feel it's just a parallel dimension that is available when people are open to that possibility.
Yeah. So, has there ever been an occasion when you have felt a presence of something very powerful and tangible when you've been out walking in nature alone?
Sure. Yes. Yes. I love, that's my favorite thing to do is go to the creek and take a hike. And so I feel that my heart is able to expand and just accept, where the acceptance of the beauty that I am part of this beauty on the planet is has kept me alive and going, because there
Yeah.
was not always people to share it with. There's not always been
No.
others to
And
share.
you see, one of the things which is
Mhm.
I don't know what word to use for it, but it's when we experience something and we can't share it. And I'm always saying that we all live in our
Mhm.
own worlds and we can never share another's
Mhm.
consciousness. And even if we go to a movie together, we go to the theater, we go to a theme park, we go and walk in the woods, and we think we are enjoying it on a similar level, we are having very different experiences. And so
Right.
we could never say, even if you was with your lover, we could never say we enjoyed that moment together, because albeit you were together so-called physically, your
Mhm.
consciousness is only very loosely pertaining to the same thing. And so, how do you feel about that? Do you feel that it's kind of like very disappointing and isolating
Mhm.
and quite terrifying, really, ultimately, because we have to realize that we are absolutely alone.
Um, yeah, yes, it can be very terrifying, but I don't carry that. Um, I feel like there's more of a oneness and this broader availability to be connected. And even if I don't have a big group of people in my life, I still feel connected, and I feel connected and loved. And where others have fallen short, I feel like that's where I've had to learn to, be there for myself. As even like when the 2020 came around and all that came about, um I haven't spoken with my father since then, because he was very, very, he was lovely at first. Oh no, here's, he's sending money, he's very wealthy, and that's very lovely, but I would rather his presence than his, some money. That's lovely. But he I knew not to talk to him because it was a very divided situation. It's still quite divided, I believe, and that's the a point of it. But he was one of the first people to want a vaccine, and I knew, for me, it's not happening. That vaccine is not going to touch my body. And I promoted to anyone, all my loved ones, to hold steady and not do that. Don't succumb. And, when I did have the conversation with my dad, I don't know how I got this direction, but he said, he goes, well, he asked straight up, and are you going to do this? And I said, no. And he paused and said, I can't talk to you anymore.
Wow.
I can't talk to you anymore. Yeah. And I said, well, Dad, I used to think you were smart.
Mm. Have you
And
spoke
that
to
was
him since?
very, no, no,
Wow.
no. Isn't that
That's
crazy?
That is crazy. That's incredible. Just how a difference in opinion and difference in marketing, that's all it is, difference in
Yeah.
marketing can divide. And it's like
Yeah.
it says in the Bible, there's going to come a time when the father will deny the son, and the
Yeah.
son will deny the mother, and the daughter will
Hmm.
deny the father, and all this different sort of stuff. And so in times like
Hmm.
that, it all happened. We saw it all over the world. And
Yes.
this
Yeah.
is when, if I ever had a modicum of respect for the Muggle, I completely lost it then, because I saw that they were potentially very, very dangerous, because they were the ones calling for the culling
Yes.
of the unvaccinated, and that we should
Yeah.
all be put on one
Yeah.
island, and we should all be stripped of our privileges, and we shouldn't be allowed here, and we shouldn't be allowed there. And so now your father
Yes.
ostracized you, rejected you. How do you resolve that logically, reasonably in your mind?
I feel, I don't feel like I can resolve it in my mind because I think you're probably a fucking idiot. But it's my dad. And I would say that I love my dad still. And I understand the programming that he has come from. He was a big TV watcher, right? So he does a lot of programming. And even though he was very wealthy, he works for NASA. He's a whatever engineer, very smart man.
In one
Yeah,
way,
I'm
in
so
one way,
proud.
obviously.
And right, yes, correct. And making money maker, that's fine. But I didn't ever succumb to that idea that is who I am. I made money, lovely money, but then I preferred my time in nature and time with that kind of thing. But I
Yeah.
do still find that I do love him, and it's very interesting. So I can't justify it because I have to come here to justify what's happening in the world.
Well, you see, what
You
you've
know.
done is because you still love him, you have the capacity to oversee his indoctrination and his program. You realise it was the power of indoctrination and programming. He is a result of the governments. He's been in these government institutions all his life, all through school, all through college and university, then going into these places where he's yes sir, no sir, three bags full sir. I'm working for NASA.
Yeah.
I'm a very important person, as long as they tell him he
Yeah.
is, and
Yeah.
if he's got NASA on his lapel or something like that, then he's very proud of belonging. And so this is the whole thing. They are owned. They belong. If he was to
Yeah.
deny, like you did, and didn't want to take that, then he couldn't work for NASA because they would have
Work for
rejected.
NASA. Yeah. Oh no, he was on a special list to get one of the first ones, and before I knew, I knew not to really communicate it. I just said, Dad, you don't want to wait till they find out what's really going on and what's in this, and oh no, I've got a special. I'm going to be one of the first ones, and I was like, wow. But I didn't say it at that first conversation about that. But I knew not to speak of it. I even at my work teaching yoga, people would talk to me about it, and I had yoga students who'd been in the gym I was at. They quit, and the owners said, "You cannot share what you believe in here."
Yeah,
I couldn't
yeah.
share that, the truth, my truth.
So I suppose that the vast majority of my viewers, if not all of my viewers, no, I know not all, because I know some of my viewers, they watched me for years, and yet they still succumbed and they
Mm.
took that stuff. And I asked
Yeah.
why, and then this particular person said fear. I think I was overcome with fear, and I'm like, after
Yeah.
all that you supposedly have learnt. You've learned nothing about the world, obviously. That's the
Yeah.
thing. We can fall down the rabbit hole. We can realize how all the government institutions are corrupt, and we're all slaves, and this, that, and the other. And yet, when they come out with something that puts the ego in a state of fear, then they forget everything they
Mm.
ever knew. And it's absolutely
Right.
incredible, isn't it? Incredible.
Uh, Unreal, unreal, unreal. I don't
So,
know.
so,
There's
so
just unreal.
I'm often
Mhm.
speaking about so many different varieties of hominid here, and the ones that are more conscious, they are the Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens obviously
Mm.
means wise hominid. The rest are not Homo sapiens. They're humans. They're a variety of hominid, but they
Mm.
have different levels of consciousness, and the difference is vast. The difference is as vast from, let's say, a Neanderthal man, or let's say bonobo monkey or rhesus monkey, some of the smartest monkeys, to the lowest human being.
Mm.
There's quite a difference. Well, there's
Right.
equal difference from the lowest human being to the highest.
Mm.
What do you feel about that?
Well, I think I think the monkey probably eats better than a lot of humans, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
eats his fresh vegetables. I feel like there is that the spectrum again. There is a spectrum of awareness, a spectrum of how deep they are into their programming that they don't even know. They don't even know they should brush their teeth twice a day. I mean, I don't know. I chipped a tooth here, a little tiny chip, and I was like, oh, it was but anyway, it's my own little chip tooth, I guess, on a piece of fruit, that little tiny bit. But I feel like like I lost my place there, but yeah, the spectrum of people's awareness is like Planet of the Apes. Is like that. Are they really our cousins or family? I would
yeah,
rather be related to a bear, I
yeah.
guess. I feel like the animals are more in tune. Yeah.
Yes, yes, most certainly. The animals most certainly are more in tune. They're more intuitive. They're wiser.
Yeah.
They have vaster levels of cognition. You see, I'm often
Yeah.
speaking about Gifty, and I'm saying that she knows what all the other animals are saying. Now, she may not
Mhm.
understand their dialect into to every nuance, but she most certainly is aware of all those animals' distress calls when there's a particular animal
Mhm.
or threat about. Because whether it's a human or
Yeah.
whether it's a cat or a dog or a fox, they're very, very different. Now, when one of these docile fat
Right.
cats wanders around our gardens, none of them are particularly bothered, and in actual fact, many of them will even stay on the ground because they know they can outrun these fat cats, and the cats are too lazy to pursue them in any case. But if there's a fox around, it's a whole different ball game. That's very, very serious. Now, on all this level,
Yeah.
they know if a robin cries out that there's a cat around. They know if a magpie cries out if there's a cat around, and so they are all tuned in
Mhm.
to that, very, very highly tuned and perceptive, and very, very highly intelligent.
Mhm.
Squirrels are, and so you look at those and you go, well, as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
you put a human being out in the woods, and you tell them to survive, well, 99% of them are dead within a couple of days. They wouldn't even know how
Right.
to dig for water. They wouldn't have a clue what
Right.
shrubs they could eat or anything at all like that. They're absolutely automated and detached from what they are, animals.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes, that's a true thing. It's about that's why when sometimes I'm not feeling very civilized, I guess, and I express myself that way, I also know I am an animal from the, mammal, and I think civilized is another way. So when you do express yourself, and you are so passionate, and you would love these people to have some semblance of awareness, like you say, they got vaxxed anyway, or whatever that word, yeah, they got that done anyway, and here you are in giving the distress signal, and they can't hear you, and
Yeah,
myself as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I'm speaking about different concentric circles of consciousness, it absolutely is a thing because you
Mhm.
just simply cannot reach these people. And since that advent, and lots of the information's come out, there has been a percentage of those that did take it that regret it and say, well, now with the advent of hindsight, yeah, I was wrong. I was swept up. I was coerced by the family and the job and this, that, and the other. And I'd not fallen down the rabbit hole. Now I'm down the rabbit hole. And it's like
Mhm.
there's one famous guitarist, Eric Clapton, and he took this
Mhm.
stuff. And then his hands were paralyzed for 6 weeks, and he became terrified that his whole
Mhm.
career was over and everything. So it was then that he
Mm.
started to look into it, and he realized what a fool he'd been. And he said, I've been a musician all my life. I haven't been, educating myself about this and that, and, feeling the need to protect myself against governments. I was all complacent that,
Mhm.
they had our backs and this, that, and the other, because he was in his own bubble, rock and roll man, and all he knew was music. And that's the thing, isn't it? When the only thing people know is a very narrow parameter of what there is to know about the world. But there's people like yourself
Yes.
and me and lots of others that we just knew we ain't going near that shit. Now, where do you think that's
No. Where did that stem from? I think that just from the begin, I've never been lined up to do even when, okay, my grandson, when he grew up, and he's a firefighter and works for the government, and he fights fires and such. Anyway, he said when he was a senior in high school, because I had told him, I said, I watch astrology, not that I knew a lot about everybody's astrology and who is what, but I said 2020 is going to be life changing for us, for as far as I could tell, astrology wise, and many things he learned about me growing up. He said, Grandma, the government doesn't like you. They don't like your kind. They don't like I've never behaved like they've wanted me to.
yeah.
So that was just natural for me. I feel like it was just innate that I followed what I wanted to do. I had a hair salon, and I was a hairdresser, and I worked for myself on my hours and my terms, and I got to be an artist that way, and do art. And yeah, so I didn't follow what other people did. And even though it wasn't popular, my mom said, I know who I am. And it was for me to know who I was.
Yeah. So you might get the impression that throughout all these years, I've been intent on discovering uh, where the difference in our consciousness derives from. Because in lots of instances, there is a that sounds low.
Say that again. I just had an airplane fly over. I'm
Yeah, that
sorry.
sounded low. That plane. I'm saying that
It could be. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a vast difference in the levels of consciousness, and I just wonder if there is anything more to it than just the variance of nature. Because if we look at nature, for instance, if we look at anything, you look at uh, particular varieties of bush or tree in your garden, and you
Mhm.
would say that, oh, they're the same variety, and yet when you look at the bark, they're really quite different. When you look at the leaves on any given tree, they really are quite different. Some leaves on one
Mhm.
tree can be 3 times the size of those on another tree. They can be a different shape and all different sorts of things, and yet they are the same genre, apparently the same species, and yet they all display
Mhm.
themselves in different ways, like human beings. We've got Asian folk, we've got African folk, and we've got all in between, and yet we're all classed as being human beings
Mhm.
from the same lineage. I don't think that that's true. I think that it's highly
Mhm.
probable that we were separately spliced and we've come from different DNA. Do you have any
Mhm.
feelings or thoughts on that?
I could go with that. I feel like I don't know about the Anunnaki or how it's all worked, where I don't feel we could have to necessarily be from uh, the same, just
Genetic pool,
one lineage.
yeah.
Pardon?
Genetic pool,
I don't Genetic pool. Yes, I don't. I hope on some occasions that I'm not related to some folks. I don't
yeah,
know if they have the God spark. I feel like that is the thing that's missing in people, and especially after that jab thing. The God spark is essential, and I don't. I feel like 5G and all that has affected people, and my friends' hearts are affected. My some families are. We don't. They've been affected in such horrific ways.
yeah.
And then but the overall, no, I don't. I agree with you. We are not spliced from the same.
So
However, we all occurred.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it took me a long time to realize lots of things, because
Mm.
it's been an immense learning curve, and in recent times, let's say 2 or 3 years now, it's been that I've realized that many so-called humans do not even have an internal monologue, let alone an internal dialogue.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
have to ask myself, how on earth does that work? Because we all must have a split brain. And if we have a split
Mhm.
brain, then we have the potential capacity for two individuated states of consciousness. And when the
Mhm.
corpus callosum
Mhm.
is cut, these two hemispheres think independently and they don't even know that the other one exists.
Mhm.
And so, therefore, there must be two
Mhm.
voices in every human being. But lots of studies being carried out say that there isn't, and that people don't even have an internal monologue.
Mhm.
And like, well, you can ask them, and I've seen interviews conducted, and they say, well, how do you know
Mhm.
what to do then? They just say, well, I just know, I just do it. And it's kind of like, yeah, but you must be told
Mhm.
or you must think about it. For instance, if you want to have a beer or pizza, you must be thinking, oh, I feel like a beer and pizza. So you must plan that, right? You must be thinking about it. But then they say, well, it just happens. I just do it. And I'm like, I don't get it. I just don't see how that. I think probably what the reality is that they must be thinking about this, but there's something within their brain doesn't allow them to be able to remember that. Because there's an
Mhm.
agency which fires these thoughts. Hey, shall we have a pizza?
Mhm.
Yeah, good idea. And then they instantly dissolve and they're not put in the memory. Something like that must be happening because if we cut the top off every single human being, we will see that there are indeed two hemispheres. I think that would be the most
Mhm.
logical,
Mhm.
rational assumption. We've never heard anything different. If we heard that, hey, this is weird. When we did the autopsy on this guy, he never had a corpus callosum. He just had one brain. Maybe
Yeah.
that's shit yet to come, Mandy. I wouldn't doubt it. The world is very peculiar. But if we're looking for a rational
Mhm.
application as to why this is, well, where do we go?
Mhm. Inside. I feel like the answers are inside each of us, and then having our brain work for both hemispheres working together. I feel like that's something that is important to, like you working out or having our bodies. Before 2020 began, I started being more left-handed. I wanted to develop my other side of my body and brain, I guess, and to strengthen it. And I believe as a child I was left-handed, but the world I lived in, they made me right-handed. I was right-handed. I became
Right.
right-handed.
Yeah.
So as far as 2020 became, I just started everything left-handed, and it felt very awkward. But I would like to make sure I'm a little more balanced and synced. And I feel like we preceive and conceive, receive, and perceive. I like to think that we get it into our hearts that we are able to perceive things. If we if we allow ourselves
Yeah, yeah.
that.
Can I ask you why you say 2020 instead of 2019?
Was it 2019? Because I guess I don't do time very well. But wasn't it 2020
No.
that everything that all that it was
Well,
2019?
well, no, because here's the giveaway. It was called COVID-19.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I don't know, but for me, I got busier. I was more out in the world. I, I, I was not on lockdown. I'll
No.
say
So,
that
so,
much.
so
I
here's the
was,
thing.
I,
Now, I've got to pick up on this because this is really, really bizarre. Because you were just unsure whether it was in actual fact 2019 and not 2020. Now, I would
right.
have thought that 2019 was indelibly embedded in every single human psyche on the planet. It was called COVID
Yeah.
19 because it happened in 2019.
19.
And yet, within your mind, it's
19.
2020.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Because I guess in my timeline, it seemed like it began to really, I guess maybe sink in 2020. My life
All
really
publications and everything, the mass hysteria. It was COVID-19, COVID-19, COVID-19.
19. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what I'm now starting to think about, are you subject to some sort of
Mm.
Mandela effect? Because you seem to have lost that bit.
Yeah. Right. I've never been a great person to go back in time. And I mean, I always have been more in the moment. And like when people would talk about their football years or the high school years of doing cheerleading or something, and they had a specific date they could remember. That was never available to me. It felt like I was frustrated because I knew if they wanted a date, oh, when did you move to that town? I would not necessarily. It was,
Right.
yeah, I don't,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Mm,
no chronological memory actually being significant in your life. So do you remember
mm.
birthdays or things like that, anniversaries?
I'm not great. I have to have it in my phone if I'm going to remember it.
Right.
I know it's coming. I know it's coming, but
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, I'm not necessarily identified with that time. I always thought time was such a structure that was out of my scope. Yeah.
Right. And so, okay, well, that's
Mm.
it's very interesting because the more we look into the individual's psyche, we can see how so enormously we are different. And
Mm.
if I didn't bring that to your attention, and I said to you,
Yeah.
I can double your money with a bet, and you'd go, okay, and I'd go, well, look, if you can tell me the year that this virus thing came about, you'll double your money or you'll lose your money. Would you have been confident
Right.
enough to bet it on 2020?
Right. No, I would have lost the bet, I guess. I would have
Yeah,
lost.
yeah,
Because that in my mind now, it began in 2020, but you're correct. It was 2019. And I remember all the happenings of it was now, was it in January that it began or December? Because I remember people getting sick in December, but it was January that
Yes, indeed,
It came
because
out.
my sister, she was working as a postal woman at the time, and she had this cough thing that went on
Mhm.
for 2 months or something, and she lost the sense of smell. She lost the sense of taste. This was
Mhm.
in November, December, and this was before the announcement and the advent of this thing. And so when it all
Mhm.
came about, she said, "I've had that shit for the last 3 months." You know, there was something going around which lost people's taste and smell, and
Yeah.
so yeah, you know, it put her in bed for you know quite a long time. You know, early to bed every evening because she was exhausted and all that. Um, okay, so to finish off this conversation, if you're all right for another 25 minutes, that will bring us up to 2 hours. Um, are there anything that you want this opportunity to ask me? Things like, oh, I'd love to ask the Wake and Brave this, that, or the other.
Mm. Writing your book, the time and the focus of writing your book. Um, do you think you'll write another one? Do you think you've got another book?
Yes, did you have that book, by the way?
I don't yet. I'm gonna have to get it now.
You are
Yes,
going to have to get it because
I know.
if you don't, the Awakened Brave will haunt you for the rest of your life. The ghost of the
Bring
Awakened
it,
Brave
buddy.
will be rattling your doors and windows for eternity.
Woo! Right.
So it took me 8 months to write that book, at 5 hours a
Okay.
day. It was just a
Wow.
full-on download. That's what it was. It was just a full-on impulsive and compulsive download. I have
Mhm.
several books that are in here fermenting. I mean,
Mhm.
that book it contained 14 years of my spiritual development and experience. And I just reeled off all of this stuff as if it was absolutely as clear as a bell from my mind, because, you know, I do have a very good memory, or I'm just downloading it from the Akasha. It's all in the Akasha, you know.
Got
And
it.
I
Yeah.
was just typing, and you know, it was an immense task because it's 200,000 words, and of course, every single line and paragraph you have to rewrite and read over and over and over and over and over. And you know, I've read that book, you know, its entirety, you know, probably 100 times by now. But the curious
Mhm.
thing about it is, I just started to read it again a week ago, and it still seems very new to me, and it inspires me even. And so I say to people that this book potentially will be renowned, should be renowned as the world's first spiritual Bible because of the content that it has. It must be touching base, uh, many bases, with anyone who's had a spiritual awakening, because there is a certain format, there is a certain trajectory and path we all travel. It's not like, oh, you've traveled this one and he's traveled that one. No, there is an element of the dark night of the soul, there is an element of the hero's journey.
Mhm.
There is an element of the waking
Mhm.
up, going down the rabbit hole and being traumatized, terrorized, losing all your family members and your friends and your job. All this shit goes on. And you absolutely have to know about Nibiru, the
Mhm.
Illuminati, and God knows what else.
Yeah.
And so that's why it should be a go-to for anyone who's been on or is on the spiritual journey. And so when you actually get a hold of the copy and you read it, you'll go, "Oh, this is sounding quite similar to Cornelius," because you're talking about Cornelius wanting to kill himself and this and the other. I wasn't there. I never had any suicidal thoughts, but my ego was
Mhm.
absolutely obliterated, and I had to start again. So he obviously traveled the
Mhm.
journey like we all have done in some respect.
Mhm.
So I will be writing more books. So there's lots of books that I'm going to be writing, but uh, I knew I was going to be writing Closer to God: The Journey to the Self, for years. And I was saying
Mm.
to myself for the past 5 years, well, when am I going to write this book? And I just never got the answer. And I thought, well, uh, I knew I would know when to write it when my higher self told me.
Mhm.
And so um, it told me to a particular day, and I went, well, I don't know what to say. And so the voice was, well, start
And
writing,
so the voice was, well,
and we'll do the rest. Okay, I started writing, and that's it. The flow came through, and these things. I mean, there's a divinity in them because I'm speaking in my videos about Beethoven, who got these sonnets completely written in his mind's eye, and all he needed to do was copy them. He doesn't lay claim to producing these himself on lots of occasions. Michelangelo, with his statues, he just says, "I'm just chipping off the shit that's on the outside. I'm not doing any big deal. It's already in there." And then, like 9-year-old
Mm.
girl masterpieces, saying that it's inspired or delivered by God. We don't know why we do and how we do these things. Um,
Right.
Life becomes more and more curious the more we think about it and the more we tune into it, because it really is a very, very bizarre thing. And nothing is like what we think it is. And when we inspect and dissect everything, ultimately everything falls through our fingers into nothingness.
Mm.
But this is the whole realm of philosophy and
Mm.
quantum physics. Scientists are absolutely aghast that the more they look for things, the further they get away.
Yeah.
How do we
Mhm.
any consensus about life? We can't. And the more we look for the fundamental purpose, rhyme, and reason by it, the more we just end up in the abyss. And it
Mm.
really does feel like it's some sort of crazy conspiracy. Were philosophers that wrote about the evil demon, which is conjuring up all these thoughts in our minds. But I wouldn't go as far as to say it's evil, but it most certainly is something like a daemon, because a daemon is the original word for demon, and daemon was a
Mm.
Platonic word which just meant that agency within that gives rise to thoughts, like responsible for
Mm.
consciousness. It's consciousness having a jolly old trip, and consciousness won't be questioned, it won't be pigeonholed. And so it's a very, very bizarre experience. So uh, yeah, writing more books, but as to what exactly, one of them is that I want to try to put together my theory of everything. And my theory of everything is going to be something on the line of the greatest geniuses on the planet. Let's just say people, philosophers and spiritual people who have contemplated the nature of reality, and then they've wrote copious amounts about it. And I've been studying these people for many, many years, and I'm looking for the absolute core essence of what all these secret societies and, the heart of their religion, which is so secret, it's not for the average Joe. Well, when you get into that, you find what the essence is, and then the essence is the
Mhm.
pure essence of isness. That's what it all boils down to. It boils down to a
Mm.
state of awareness, which, for all intents and purposes, is God. And out of that, then comes consciousness, and it comes the human fiction of reality. And I've spoken about these
Mm.
things many times in my videos.
Mm.
and I think the vast majority of people haven't got a clue what I'm speaking about. But I've experienced the absolute fundamental premise of what it is to be human. So I can write it from my personal experience, and then I can include Plotinus, Aristotle, Plato, and Jung, and Spinoza, and a whole myriad of others who have contemplated these things. And what we do is when we contemplate the nature of these things, we go, like you say, to the deepest realms of our inner self. And if we have a to enable us to do that, then we will all arrive at the same place, because we can't go any further. And that's where we stem from. And so I'm going to be writing that, and probably I'll sell a not a single copy, and nobody will ever get through the first few pages. But long after I'm dead, people will be saying, "Oh, this awakened brave guy knew where it was," because I will be saying something similar, but probably even built upon the likes of the great Plotinus, and philosophers such as that, and Maimonides, greatest respected of Jewish scholars and everything like that. But when I listen to what these people have said, I've already concluded and experienced it, and the experience is the thing that enables know. And so when I read these great people, I know that they've experienced it. So Plotinus, for instance, he would speak about having the experience of this one. He called it the one. When you enter into the one. And then if you look into Jewish Kabbalah, if you look into Maimonides, if you look into all these people, they will tell you that there's a unity. And the whole thing with the Jewish Star of David, it's the one triangle on top of the other. That's masculine and feminine in unity. That's what that is. It's an ancient symbol, long before Judaism came about. And so once you get into that level of God, cosmic creation, it all stems out of the awareness, because the awareness is the root of consciousness. And we as human beings can't go beyond the awareness. And out of the awareness comes consciousness. And then we have a self-awareness via our consciousness. But when we have just the awareness, there is no self. The self is a fabrication, it's a fiction, which comes out of that. So then I speak about certain things. Einstein's theory of general relativity, E equals mc squared. So it's energy equals mass times by the speed of light. Energy equals mass. Energy is energy. Mass, well, you would think that mass is something of solidity, but it's not solid. And it doesn't mean it's solid. Energy equals mass. There is no substance to both of these things. And yet Einstein wrote his most genius of equations, and everybody accepted that, but nobody's ever questioned that Einstein was telling the world that there's no physical matter, because that would not do in the quantum realm. Well, I would say that the physical realm, whereas Einstein was a scientist on that level, because scientists, he kind of denied the quantum Schrodinger's cat thing, that I'm getting too complicated. I'm boring everybody here. But anyway, that's what the book's going to be about. It's going to be vastly too deep for to
the majority of books.
That's how it's always been. That's how it's always been. But then, I will also write a book on squirrels, which will be a whole,
and mushrooms.
Squirrels and mushrooms, yes. So, some people say to me, your videos on squirrels are invaluable, because you're rewriting the whole thing. Because when you look on the internet, what people tell you about squirrels, there's barely a single one that knows anything about squirrels. In actual fact, they're all just repeating what they've heard, and it's wrong. And I've proved that on two separate occasions with the scalded cow's milk, which every single person on the planet except one person has said that we should never feed squirrels because it will kill them. Absolute nonsense.
Mm,
Then they say that
mm,
white vinegar will not kill fleas. It does. It absolutely
mm,
obliterates
mm.
them. And so just two things
Ah,
like that.
do they drink the white vinegar, or you just put it on their body?
You mix it 50-50% with water, and you
Yeah.
just wash them a little bit with cotton wool.
Yes.
You dip it in the cotton wool and you
Okay.
rub it on their fur. These fleas,
Yes.
they all jump like rats from a sinking ship. You see
Good.
them scattering all over the place, and
Yes.
they don't come back.
Mhm,
And so it is said that
mhm,
it
mhm.
doesn't kill the fleas and the eggs; they'll come back. No, I doused Gifty on 2 consecutive days, and they went away and they never come back.
Good.
And so
Good.
that's just
Good.
rewriting, absolutely rewriting all what is conveyed on the internet. And
Yes.
when you look at that, I just ask myself because I've always, been confronted in my life with the only person that's ever started out to know anything. Whenever I ever wanted to know something, I go to see people or I look on the internet and nobody knows anything about it. And I'm like, look, I can't be the only person, the first person on the world that's asking these questions. And I
Mhm.
would go to the British government and I would go to all different sorts of institutions and organizations. And they would tell me that nobody's ever asked those questions before. And I'm like, I'm positive we're living in a simulation.
Yes. Yes. It's interesting. I mean, yeah, and that you, but it's your journey, and this is your journey, and you've shared it so well. You've documented so much, and like I said, I do appreciate your ability to shift gears from loving your little gifty, and then you go into taking us to the government situation of the counseling office. Was just they are so they can't do much. They can't do much. They're in a little box.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really bizarre when you look
Hmm.
upon the world and institutions and governments and all that, and you see how ridiculous every single one of them is. They're all farcical. They're all make believe. They're even more
Hmm.
fantastic than children's books about fairies and
Yeah.
goblins. Because when you look at them, they
Yeah.
all absolutely fall to pieces. There's not a single shred of truth or reality in any of them.
Right.
And the only
It,
thing
mhm.
that holds the world
Yeah.
together, Mandy, is the consensus that there is a reality, the
Yeah.
illusion that there is a reality, the illusion that governments are
Right.
doing the right thing, that
Yeah.
um, countries have
Well, and
power.
then that's like the farm. Sorry.
I
Sorry.
said countries have power over us, and this, that, and the other. Now, just let us finish off on this one then, because you made a comment, and it was probably like facetious. You having the joke around, and you said that, oh, okay, oh, mighty brain. Well, when you make some real realization,
Brainiac.
then maybe you won't need to live on government handouts, and you'll make money of your own. And I said to you something of the effect that I don't need to make money of my own. I am tapping into the pool
I know.
of fictitious money which I know is there and
Mhm.
I know I'm entitled to because I'm a sovereign being.
I know.
And I know that when I was
I know.
born and my birth certificate was created, the government created and
Mhm.
allocated an amount of money to that
Mhm.
certificate, and apparently it's several million, and they create this several million with the eventuality for people never
Mhm.
working
Mhm.
in their lives. So there's an amount of
Right.
money to pay for it, and that's where the government money comes from.
Mhm.
And so we're all
Right.
entitled to
Yeah.
it.
Yes, yes, I agree. And I guess I don't want to pigeonhole myself because I recently have gone on to be on disability, and they put me on Social Security, which is fine, and I'm okay with it. I'm like not, but I also have some, for me, I want to do some other things with water and health and different things I want to share and generate financing as well. But I do believe that, and I think it's very interesting. Like when you step into a hospital, that you're on maritime sailors law here in
Yeah,
the United States. I don't know if that's everywhere in the world, but it's
yeah,
like, why is it so different? There's some things we don't, I don't, it's hard to grasp at times. I don't, it's very vast, and there is funding, and we should be able to travel these roads and be funded to be on the planet.
yeah, and we
I agree,
can.
I agree.
And but
Yes.
there are you see what I'm doing is I am effectively telling my government that I'm a sovereign entity. And
Yeah.
sovereign entities under God have jurisdiction unto themselves. They answer to God and nobody else.
Right.
Now, when we look at courts around the world, I don't know to what extent they still do this, or whether they've got even more conniving and they don't do it anymore. But um, I would think that even in this particular day, in the British Crown Court, which is the highest court in the land,
Mm,
other than maybe a Supreme Court if you want to get a higher decision, then, you're asked to swear on the Holy Bible.
yeah. I
And
I had a speedy, oh, go on.
Oh, then I
Okay.
was going to say, well, when you look at all the crowns that have ever been on the
Mm,
heads of the British monarch and, many other countries in the northern hemisphere, they have a crown which to me is indicative of the crown of thorns, which is Jesus. Then they have
mhm,
the globe, a round ball, which is the earth, and then they have the crucifix on top. So the crucifix
mm,
is Jesus, is God, is the Christian religion, and then that has
right,
domination and governance over the globe, and then the crown, which is the king, the crown, the
mhm,
crown of thorns,
mhm,
which is your realization that you two are, sacrificing yourself before God.
right,
And so
mhm,
ultimately the British government come under the jurisdiction of God. So if you tell them that you're a sovereign being and all this bullshit that you've
mhm,
invented, legalese, that actually doesn't apply to
right,
me as a sovereign being. What they do is they,
mhm,
they they will give you a driver's license in all capitals. They'll give you a passport in all capitals. And these documents, these names, they are not English. They're legalese and they pertain
right.
to their system, which is
Uh,
illegal.
right.
Have you ever
I
heard that
I
before?
was just you I have heard that, and I believe in being a sovereign being, but I do believe that when we're born in the hospitals and they take our first name, and I don't know the proper terminology, I'm sure, but I had a speeding ticket a while back, and I did walk in with a Bible. And as I walked in, I got to be in the courtroom. It was full, and I'm a sovereign being. I'm a sovereign human here. And I walked in with the Bible, and the judge, he saw that, and he told the officer to escort me out and that I could wait in the hallway. He did not want me to speak in front of anybody, or no, that I could articulate how to be that sovereign being that I didn't. Anyway, I ended up being the last person seen, and it was very interesting, and it was just an interesting reaction, me walking in with a Bible. My friend recommended that, and I thought, well, I'll try it. I would do it, and I
So what
did, but
what
and
did you
and it
quote?
didn't.
What was his reaction?
He didn't want me in there with the people. He didn't want me to be, just in case I could um utilize my sovereignty, and that I am not my I feel like they have the rights once they our birth certificates and they our first name and different there's different ways to assess that whole thing that I don't really know how to articulate it. And I just was willing to walk in with a Bible and see where it took me, really.
Okay, so you had no
And
intention. You just felt you wanted to take that, what maybe is some comfort or some backup, or what?
I just wanted to see what would happen. And the intention was because I do believe in my sovereignty and I don't believe that they can own my name. And I remember them trying to, it feels like they want to hold it over me, like you said, that crown. There's
Yeah.
something to hold over, and I'm not underneath. I'm not understanding what they're talking about, really.
Yes. Well, you see, if you
Yeah.
accept that you are Mandy Olson in all capital letters, then you accept their authority over you.
Mhm.
If you say, I am
Right.
Mandy of the Olson family in lowercase, then you are
Mm.
sovereign. You see,
Mm.
how they get you is that they get you to accept that that is you, which is the persona. The persona is Mandy Olson in all capitals. That's what you got in your driver's license. That's what you
Mhm.
got in your passport, and all
Right.
documents pertaining to the government like that. You are a chattel, and if you accept that, then you come under their jurisdiction. If you don't accept that, if you even deny that you are that, and if you, let's just say, throw all those documents away and you make up your own name, then they can't do anything with you because you're not accepting their authority over you. And so, people go to
Right.
court, and then the cases have to be thrown out. And I don't know a case whereby anybody has ever been um, uh, caught of a crime, and they've got witnesses. The police are witnesses against them, and these people go to court and they don't accept that they are that person. They just don't say anything. I don't know any situation where they have been put in prison. How could you put someone in prison if you don't know who they are, or if they're not accepting who they are? If they're not
Right.
accepting your jurisdiction, the law of the land, if you don't accept it, what do you do?
Mm. Yeah. Yes. There's a whole different in the courts. There's a whole different language. It seems there's a whole different something to be learned there, which I have no interest in, obviously. But I just was for my own entertainment and to see what it would bring me and to see that he was a little ruffled up and flustered was enough, I guess, entertainment for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're sort of tiptoeing in that sort of direction. Yeah. Okay. Then. Well, we'll just
Yeah.
hit 2 hours, and
Okay.
so naturally there is a billion things that we could still talk about. And
Mhm.
so, anytime that you feel the energy and inclination, you want to come back, then you're more than welcome
Yes.
to do that. And I mean, what I'd like to offer people, and I've been doing this a little bit with the guys. We have two guys and myself, so we've got a threesome going on. And if you'd like to come and have a conversation, maybe with Nikki, the Canadian
Okay.
woman, and bring a
Yeah.
feminism into the whole thing, and see how compatible we are, and as awakened beings.
Yeah.
I think that might be interesting.
I would enjoy that thoroughly.
Okay, so I'll bear
Yes.
that in mind, and I'll run it
Mhm.
by Nikki, and then the next time I'll speak with Nikki, probably in a couple of weeks' time, I'll send you an email and see if we can do that then.
Okay. Very good. Well, it was wonderful spending time. Thank you.
Yes, it was a pleasure for
Thank
me
you.
also. So nice to meet you, Mandy. And
Nice
now
to meet
I
you.
put a name and a face and a character to a picture and a comment section. That's a good thing. It can't be a bad thing.
Yes.
So people
No.
watch this video, please, pay attention and try to raise up out of your automated state and become human and sovereign, for goodness sakes.
Yes.
Enjoy the weather there.
Yeah.
It still looks beautiful, Mandy. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.